achieved.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Studio Day Hefre. I want to start today's video with a shout out to where the George Iloka content came from yesterday. I posted the screenshot from my buddy Warren Sharp with the quote, but I actually didn't realize that the interview was done by a couple of my buddies on YouTube. Big Game James and Law Nation, as well as Skywalker Steel, who I have not collaborated with, but that does not mean I won't. So shout out to those guys for getting that Iloka interview, and I believe Philip Tanner as well. So you can find those guys on YouTube, and they're out there breaking news for us, which is awesome. So as usual, remember to leave in the comments what you want to talk about tomorrow, and I will try my very best to take care of you. Much like my guy Fergie on Twitter said, because I posted, hey, what do you guys want to talk about today? He said, hey, I'm feeling lazy today. Do my job for me. Exactly. Yes. Look, I'm trying to do content every day for you, Ferg. I'm trying to be Fergalicious for you. You know, sometimes there's not a lot out there, and you're like, hey, what do the people want to hear about? Although today there are a couple of things I want to talk about. And it's basically going to be straight from your questions, but it led to things I'd already been thinking about. So, Roy said, what position groups do you expect to see the most improvement from in 2020 and why? Great question. Let's get it. Position group I expect to see the most improvement from would be defensive tackle. I think Dontari Poe, that's an upgrade from Antoine Woods a year ago, and hopefully Antoine Woods is still on the team. I believe he's still got an exclusive rights free agent tender that he has not signed. So let me double check that, make sure he hasn't gone somewhere else while I wasn't paying attention. But you've upgraded. Yeah, he's still sitting there. You've upgraded at the one technique. Dontari Poe as your nose tackle is going to be an upgrade from Antoine Woods. And to me on tape, Gerald McCoy is a slight upgrade over Malik Collins. So I think you've upgraded both your interior spots. Because last year, here was the biggest problem for the Cowboys a year ago. The biggest problem that I noticed on defense, every time we would do a film segment on G-Bag Nation after each game, and the common thread I kept finding when it was like, oh, the Cowboys' run defense is terrible. Oh, they're getting shredded. Oh, they just can't play defense. What is wrong here? The one thing that kept being in common when they kept having trouble on defense was it would be when the second defensive line went in. Tank Lawrence comes off the field, Robert Quinn comes off the field, Malik Collins and Antoine Woods come off the field, and your defense just went pfft. So I think now you'll have a better group there. Hopefully Neville Gallimore can be a solid rotational guy with Gerald McCoy there, and hopefully Antoine Woods could be back so that he could be the second guy behind Dontari Poe. And I think defensive tackle will be the most improved position group for the Cowboys in 2020, which leads to, hopefully, linebackers being improved. The hope for linebacker being improved starts with Leighton Vander Esch's neck. You got to hope that he's all right physically. But if he's all right physically, then you're hoping that the fact that you now have guys who are better run defenders up front in front of them leaves your linebackers more free to go make plays. There's way too much freelancing on last year's defense. Dudes guessing, trying to make plays, and suddenly there's a gap that's unaccounted for, and that's ridiculous. But that's what the Cowboys had happen a lot last year. So hopefully the defensive tackles can also mean that linebacker is an upgraded position group. So we'll see on that, but hopefully that does happen. To me, the biggest thing that has to improve isn't really a position group per se, although I guess you could throw in kicker and punter, but it's the special teams in general. They were bad at kick coverage. They were bad at punt coverage. They were bad at kick return. They were bad at punt return. They were bad at kicking. They were bad at punting. They were bad at everything on special teams. So like the hater who spent a half hour crafting out a 12,000 word essay in the comments about how I'm stupid. Dak is not the reason you were 8-8. Dak played well. If your team didn't have to go more yards than everyone else in the league to score all the time, maybe you'd have had some better results. What do you think? Maybe if your kicker wasn't missing field goals and contributing to the worst field position in football, maybe that would have helped. And maybe if your punter, who was contributing to the worst field position in football, could have punted better, you'd have been in better shape on defense. I don't know. So special teams has to be improved, and it will be because you actually have a coach. Secondary. So I'm going through all the defense and all the special teams here. The secondary, I think, can be improved, but this will not be a personnel thing. This will be a schematic thing. I think the secondary will be improved because I just think they'll put them in a better position to succeed. I mentioned yesterday's video, if you missed it, George Iloka, who was added as a Cowboys free agent, he was talking about how in practice they're in cover 3, and he's trying to disguise it, and Chris Richard was like, no, line up. And it's like, wait, you want them to know that we're in cover 3? Yep, that's what we do. That's horrendous, but that won't happen. The Cowboys over the last handful of years have been one of the least blitzing teams. They show you exactly what they're going to do. They line up and they show you. So I think the secondary will be improved because I believe they're going to play more press man, disrupt receivers at the line of scrimmage, disguise things more, blitz more. That'll lead to an improved secondary, even though they won't have anybody in that secondary that's as good a player as Byron Jones. And finally, position group I'd like to see improvement from is the wide receivers. And I know the numbers were great, but I'm just talking drops. Way too many drops from that group last year. Michael Gallup, who's my guy, when they lost Amari, 6 plays into the Jets game, you needed him to take over, but he had drops. Amari Cooper had a bunch of drops. Randall Cobb had drops. Just do the same thing that you were doing in terms of getting open and making plays, but don't drop the ball. It'll also lead to fewer interceptions. Quite a few of those were tipped by your wide receivers. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about today, and this comes from Jordan in the comments on the YouTube page. Leave something in the comments if you want to talk about it tomorrow. He says, let's talk special teams. And Seb also said, would like to hear about how our special teams, our kicking and punting game, because last year's special teams was a roller coaster ride. You'll be better at kicker because you still have Zerline and Forbath on the roster right now. So maybe it's an actual competition, but I'm guessing because of the money that they're making that Greg Zerline is about to be your kicker, and that last year his issue with his accuracy was health-related. But either way, I don't think this team, it's stupid that it takes so long to learn things like this, but they learned that not having a kicker was a bad idea. Took them a long time, and they pretended that all kickers were the same for a long time, and pretended that there was no way to upgrade because there's nobody on the streets that's any good. And then they grabbed a random dude off the streets. They could still kick the ball straight in Kai Forbath. So the kicking will be improved. The punting, I don't know. I'm hearing that with Chris Jones, it was a back thing, but he's been down for multiple years now. If he can't get it back together, they need to add competition at punter. But here's the wild card. Probably should open with this because this is the sexiest topic of the day. Don't yell at me too much. Well, feel free. Yell at me if you want to. I can take it. I'm a big boy. What about lining CeeDee Lamb up as your punt returner? He's your third receiver, right? I think a year from now he'll be 2 or 1, but he's your third receiver, right? He's a rookie. Let that rookie impact the game in as many ways as possible. If the other team is punting from their own 25, put CeeDee back there. Give yourself a chance to break some tackles and have a big return. There's some risk. I know there's some risk there. You don't want a guy to get hurt, roll an ankle or whatever while returning punts that plays wide receiver because receiver is so important, but field position's important. You had bad special teams. Hashtag free CeeDee. Let CeeDee Lamb get back there and make some plays. Give me some excitement back there at punt return. Put CeeDee at punt return. Start the campaign, baby. CeeDee Lamb, PR, punt return. Let's get it. Let me see here. Nathan said, let's get weird. Dak pulls a Le'Veon Bell and sits out all season because both sides won't compromise, and Dalton becomes QB1. Who becomes QB2? The Nooch. Ben DiNucci. That won't happen. That's the other thing. Dak ain't holding out. I don't believe any quarterback in recent history has actually done it. When you get tagged to actually sit out, sure, Le'Veon Bell did it, and you know what happened to Le'Veon Bell? He lost a whole bunch of money. That's what happened. When he got to the end of the year, he didn't get the money he thought he was going to get. Le'Veon Bell lost by holding out on the tag. So could Dak hold out of virtual things? And he can't hold out. You can't win. I know that Le'Veon Bell did it and he lost. Once July 15th comes and goes, if they haven't worked out a long-term deal with Dak, they can't until the next offseason. It's not allowed. You can't negotiate anymore. So Dak's just going to sit at home and not make his $30-some-odd million when he has made very little in salary to this point in his career. No, he's going to show up. He's going to get his $30-something million, and he's going to be the starter. There will be no Dak Prescott holdout, I promise, because a holdout is meant to achieve something. That something is getting a contract done. When you're on the tag, that's not possible. Once July 15th passes, that's a wrap for negotiations until next year. So Dak will be there. But your answer, the nooch. Let's see here. Tyler said, camp battles you're most looking forward to, pending that they can actually have them. To me, the easiest ones, there's two. The best camp battles and a potential third one. But the best camp battles are left guard and center and corner. They got 9 corners right now. And if they move somebody, say Cheeto to safety, that becomes a camp battle to watch. When you put Clinton Dix, Xavier Woods, and Cheeto all in the last year of their deal back there and let them compete for 2 spots, that'd be a great competition. Watching Trayvon Diggs and Reggie Robinson, your rookies, competing against guys like maybe Cheeto, Jordan Lewis, Anthony Brown, Darryl Worley. There's going to be really good competition at corner. There's going to be really good depth at corner. And as much as I am a Byron Jones fan, what they're doing at corner lines up with what the nerds say to do on defense. The nerds say, and as you know by now, I am one of those nerds. The nerds say invest in your passing offense because that is the most predictable year to year, that a quarterback, if he's good, is going to keep playing well. If a receiver's good, he's going to keep playing well. Whereas corners, it's kind of a wee sort of deal. So throw a bunch of bodies at corner and invest with your first-round pick in CeeDee Lamb and your money with Amari Cooper and your third-round pick, Michael Gallup. Invest in your passing offense and then invest in depth on the defense. So corner and then left guard and center, who's going to be? Connor McGovern coming back, Connor Williams coming back from injury, Tyler Biadasz, your 4th-round pick that they traded up for, Joe Looney. You know, you got a lot of bodies to throw at that. Cam Irving, where are they going to play him? I really liked Cam Irving, their newest signing. I really liked him as a center prospect years ago. At Florida State, he played tackle. He may have played guard, and he played center for like 10 games, and that's where I liked his tape the most. So they got real competition, which is one of the great things that comes with a new coaching staff is they don't care about your old dudes. I've said this before, but every training camp I've been to, and I've been to what, 8 of them, give or take? Everyone I've been to, I could have told you the 22 starters when I showed up. And I could have told you 50 of the 53-man roster when I showed up. It's just the way it was. You knew what was going to happen. But now, you can't say for sure who's starting at corner, who's starting at safety, who's starting on the offensive line, which rookies are going to make the team. And by the way, I think it might be all of them. I think every guy you drafted might make this football team. Bradley and I think he's making the team. Ben DiNucci, the 7th rounder, I think he's making the team. Because McCarthy handpicked him as my developmental guy. You got 55 guys instead of 53 now for your roster. So I could totally see them not wanting to expose their draft pick quarterback to waivers to try to get him to the practice squad. I could see every drafted rookie making the team. And that would be a nice draft. Joe DeMaio on the Twitter, are there any sleeper breakout defensive candidates on the roster in your opinion? Your reinstatement guys are the most likely. Alden Smith and Randy Gregory, if they get reinstated and when, and if there's not suspensions, those are the obvious picks. But other guys who could break out, if Neville Gallimore was able to go earn the starting job at 3 technique, that's a candidate. Bradley and 5th-round defensive end. I think he's a candidate to make the team and be an immediate impact guy. But no, and I think that's the problem with their recent drafts. I'll pick Xavier Woods again. I'll just keep picking him. He's been okay, but he was one of those guys that was trying to do too much a year ago and freelancing and putting himself in some bad positions, and he was okay. He was a solid starter. But I had higher hopes for him, and so, yeah, he could be a breakout guy. Trayvon Diggs could be a breakout candidate because it seems like they're going to go play more press man, and he can do that. He can do that well. So that's what I got for you today. Remember to leave in the comments what you want to talk about tomorrow, and I'll try to take care of you. Shout out to my guys who are breaking that George Iloka news out there all over the internet. You can check them out on YouTube. Skywalker Steel, Law Nation, Silver and Blue Nation. That's Big Game James. Shout out to those guys. And have yourself a glorious day. Happy after Mother's Day. Happy day. I'll see you guys on the radio here in a bit. Leave what you want in the comments, and make sure that you are subscribed and getting notifications. YouTube.com/Jeff Kavanaugh. Check 1053thefan.com every day. Here is your wink.